Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I'm going to start with this tweet. This tweet right here is freaking awesome. Look at this. This is from CoinMarketCap, and it says, amazing things happen when you zoom out. And man, there are some great points to be made in this, just looking at this chart right here. The first thing is, as we know, Bitcoin and Ethereum have been, in every kind of way that you can imagine, have been propped up all these years by a marketing machine from Wall Street to Silicon Valley, in my opinion. But the important thing is to think, just when you see how XRP has held up all this time against everything that Bitcoin and Ethereum have had in their favor, this marketing machine working, XRP has had working against it, and it has still stayed up in the top until, if you look here, you can see XRP here, and then until the last 2 years, really, after the lawsuit. I mean, the lawsuit literally kicks it down right here, and until these last 2 years, with a lawsuit hanging over the head of XRP, it pretty much hung right in there. And there were times right around here where it was above Ethereum. I mean, it was above Ethereum for half the time. In fact, I believe this is the whole part of the whole reason for the lawsuit was because I think the Ethereum people and the Bitcoin people knew it was going to overtake it. But let's make the bigger point. While everybody's all crying about the market and all, which I am not, I am buying. I don't even call it buying dips. I've got a list and I made the list yesterday. I'll share it with you. I've got a list of the digital assets that are going to change everything, that are going to be part of the financial world in my opinion, for the next 100 to 200 years. And I'm investing in those a little bit at the time. I'm buying into those while this market's down. This could be the last big opportunity we have. But you've only got one on this list that has been under the cloud of a BS lawsuit. Only one. Which makes this one, in my opinion, the most undervalued digital asset. The irony is it's the greatest digital asset ever created, and it's the most undervalued digital asset ever created right now. Okay, now this is almost as if this was all planned, because we know Bank of England is a customer of Ripple, and look what they tweeted. Or Blockworks tweeted, Bank of England crypto crash survivors could become tomorrow's Amazons and eBays. The Bank of England's deputy governor added that crypto has huge applications and potential within the financial sector. You don't say. Well, when I see Amazon and eBays, let me give you the ones I can name. I can name several of them. Here's who's going to become your Amazons and eBays out of this thing. This is just some of them. Ripple, Stellar, Binance, Circle, and off the top of my head, that's a few of them. Okay, maybe. Well, actually, I think I can give you a few more names. Here's a couple more names. Kraken. Okay, my wife called, so I'm having to start this back, but that's okay. So the point is back to the tweet that I was showing here. Bank of England is talking about how there's going to be there will be people that come out of companies that come out of this that are like the Amazons. Well, you got and I'm Binance. You got Kraken. Remember, Kraken is the first crypto bank. Okay, a lot of people forget that. Now these two I don't really know about. Now, what rolls right into that is what I keep saying, because there's going to be all these survivors. That's one of the reasons that Link2 is so important. Link2, like today, they put this up. They've lowered their minimum investment of two hottest investments on their platform, Link2 and Ripple, just $5K for accredited investors. If you invest in both, they'll send you $1,000 of XRP to your Uphold wallet. So this is going on, but what's important is to find what are going to be the Amazons and the eBays. To me, it's pretty obvious. I mean, I'd put Ripple and Stellar at the very freaking top of that list. But anyway, I think you get the point. There'll be a link to the description of this, since Link2 is one of my sponsors. I'll put a link to this in the very top of the description. Now, and listen, this guy is so on it. The folks, the wealthy people, when things like when there are market crashes, the wealthy people, that's when they go hunting. Guys like this guy, they're hunting for deals is what they're doing.
I don't care if you're in equities or in debt or in crypto or in real estate. You always need a big player to go to zero. That always helps, whether it's long-term capital or whether it's one of these crypto infrastructure companies. I would like to see, and I don't want this to happen, but it always gives you a good bottom when you get a large player over-levered that goes to zero. And that always tends to be the beginning of the rebuilding process. So if you have to sacrifice someone who used too much leverage, and it's always leverage that does this, somebody's over-levered, positions are complicated, they're not transparent, they're not liquid, and they go to zero. Someone is out there on the brink of zero.
Wait, who do we know that's not transparent? The Ethereum guys have never been transparent. That would be the biggest of the biggest. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying, what if this was an Ethereum thing?
Okay. In fact, I'd argue that's a good thing when we get it. Now, do we get it this week? Do we get it next week? Someone's going to zero. I don't know who, but it'll be great for everybody else that survives because everybody will learn from that. And that's what I like about a washout, an event.
I so agree with what he's saying. The best thing that happens is these kind of things, because you find out who's swimming naked, like Warren Buffett says, and it's so true. And it's a cleansing thing. That's part of the reason I was so pissed off when our government did the bailouts in the financial crisis, because the idea that is somehow helpful to our country or the world economies to bail people out is a lie. It was a lie from day one, and they knew it was a lie. They were just trying to save themselves and their friends. And the idea that bailing somebody out does something good for anybody is in the short term it might do something good for them, but it doesn't do anything good for the economy overall, and it's always good for people to learn lessons, even hard ones. Now, look what Stellar's doing. Speaking of winners emerging,
I mean, the truth is,
and you're noticing just like I am, I know you are, Stellar and Ripple are rising. You can see it a mile away.
this isn't easy. When you're actually, like MoneyGram, it took them, 30 years to be able to build that infrastructure and that agent network that has 400,000 agents globally. And when you're really trying to connect with the cash-based economy, you need feet on the ground. You need local agents to be able to help solve that. So we've actually, this has just been our focus all along. Look, I'll tell you that there's been a lot of FOMO internally for the last couple of years, given all the cool stuff that's happening. We are building smart contracts into the network. That's going to feed you liquidity into payments. That's going to happen later this year. We have an automated market maker in the network as well that folks can leverage from a wallet standpoint. You can have wallet interfaces there. There's also the DEX, and so those are leveraged for payments. All those things exist on the network, but they actually feed into the value of the payment network because they create that liquidity and making sure that the markets are going to be robust. But it's not easy. And it's also, sometimes you do get a little bit of FOMO because there's so much other cool stuff that we can focus on. But I
just wanted you to hear that smart contracts part. That's from Riz XRP. Brad Garlinghouse, Drake just released a new album. A week later, Ripple opens its first office in Canada. Coincidence? In all seriousness, though, Toronto has some incredible technical talent. We're looking forward to meeting you. So Brad Garlinghouse is headed to Toronto, and this is the tweet that Ripple had tweeted out. Then we've got this. Check this out. This is a great video that Digital Perspectives put together. I'm going to play at least half of this. It's worth listening.
We're going to have a decentralized system.
This is Jim Rickards, by the way, who's a genius.
We're going to have a decentralized system that a community can validate, and we don't have to rely on anybody in particular. That was the original idea. So the question is, what's your method of validation? And that's what distinguishes one blockchain from the other. So I've listed 4 of them here, but there are others. Proof of work, that's what blockchain uses. And you know what the work is? You got to factor these, 87-digit prime numbers into prime factors. It's a lot of computer crunching, completely clunky, completely inefficient, non-sustainable. I'll talk about that in a second, but that's Bitcoin. There's something else called proof of stake, meaning you actually, this is what Ether is based on, you demonstrate that you have a certain percentage of the processing power, so you step up based on your stake. There's proof of space. Space is storage space on a hard drive, so I get to vote on the blockchain. I get to vote on validating the blockchain because I've decided to devote a certain amount of my hard drive to that process. There's a new coin called Space Mint. And then there's the Byzantine Agreement, or Byzantine Agreement. There's a version of that called the Federated Byzantine Agreement, which I personally think is the best.
The XRP ledger is different because its core consensus mechanism is different.
Much more robust to some of the problems we're talking about, and there are others. But the point is, don't talk about blockchain. Say, okay, what's your governance model? What's your validation model, et cetera? And then ask yourself, is that sustainable? Is that robust? Will that resist an attack? Are your cryptocurrencies going to be stolen? These are the questions you have to ask yourself. And I
want to talk a little bit about CBDCs because I'm very, very excited about them, and I'll talk about some of the naysayers. So our CBDC private ledger enables central banks to create a private parallel network for permission blockchain to issue the CBDC on. For those who may not know, a central bank digital currency. We're talking about central banks issuing, the country's primary fiat asset on a private blockchain. And this is extremely important. If you look at enterprise payment systems, SWIFT, for example, you'll see stories all the time about sort of compromises of the SWIFT system where somebody sort of gets through SWIFT's outer layer of defenses and then they can compromise the system from the inside. Blockchains don't have that problem. If you think about the Bitcoin blockchain, Ethereum, the XRP ledger, all of these blockchains have billions of dollars moving around them, and they simply don't have those types of security problems because they don't have a central database you have to defend. They don't have a central party. They don't have the security vulnerabilities. So this is big. And building using blockchain technology can make these systems open without sort of having that security problem.
So the writing's on the wall, folks. It's not too hard to figure out. Now, I'm going to play you a part of this clip too. This is Jerome Powell of the Federal Reserve. You can see it's all happening all around you.
Channels I would point to. Let me ask about in terms of asset prices and how financial markets are responding to the Fed's stance. I've consistently asked you and Secretary Yellen when you appear before the committee to talk about systemic risks, risk to financial stability, risk of financial contagion. Where you're moving swiftly and markets are volatile, there are perhaps institutional trades that could rapidly unwind or exotic financial instruments that no longer function well. What do you anticipate to be the parts of capital markets now, or the phenomena in capital markets that present the greatest risk to financial stability as the Fed takes the aggressive action that you're taking?
Well, I'd start by saying that the banking system is very strong, well capitalized, highly liquid, does a much better job of understanding the risks it runs and managing them than before the global financial crisis. And that's a reflection of the work that regulators did and that the banks did too. So that part of the financial system is critically very strong, and we saw that through the pandemic, and we see it now. To your point, though, capital markets did show real periods of illiquidity during the immediate aftermath of the pandemic, and so we've been looking at ways. I say broadly, the regulatory community has been looking at ways to address that.
So you remain concerned about money markets?
Well, that's a different. So money markets that's a part of the.
Yeah. So where have we heard systemic risk? I'll never forget that Ripple drop where Brianna Madigan said they thought that XRP could help in a systemic risk situation, and then Ripple, as I recall, they took out the part where she said that. They took it out of the video, but it was too late because all of us crazies out here had already locked on to it. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that I believe that XRP could help in a systemic risk situation.